Here's the things that Nvidia has done in 2024.
Yeah, so they had the largest single day gain of market cap by a stock in history. They posted the largest single day loss of a market cap by stock in history.
Insane.
Become the largest company publicly in the world. Erased $1 trillion of market cap in under 1 month. Created an estimated 25,000 total employees that are millionaires. And the CEO, Jensen, had his net worth decrease by 10 billion in a single day. So the company was at like 3.1 trillion, I believe, at the peak. Right. And now it's at like 2.5 trillion.
Right.
So there's like a $600 billion loss there in the span of a week. The Department of Justice is investigating Nvidia right now for a monopoly on chips and their dealings with, foreign countries. It's just like the most volatile company that we've seen at this scale. Like there aren't that many companies that are worth $600 billion and they just lost that market cap in, a week.
Cash.
Ladies and gentlemen, group chat.
Cash.
It's $1 trillion. Hot.
Hey, Anand, the other day how you asked me about strength training?
Yep.
And you were like, why does it suck so much? And asked if I hate it also.
Yeah.
I just have to return the gesture and tell you that I don't know how you guys run. So yesterday,
interesting. Okay.
I want to run because I just want to have good cardio. Also, like full transparency, there's been some heart issues in my family, like my grandparents and things have passed away from heart attacks and stuff like that. And so I just thought while I'm doing all this work, I might as well start to build really strong cardio. And so keep in mind, I do this strength training shit. I do these pull-ups with fucking weights attached to me. I box, but just running. Yesterday I ran. So I had a goal this quarter to just run 3 miles at under a 9-minute pace.
Okay.
And I've never done that. I'm always in the 10-minute thing. So yesterday I went, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go knock this goal out. And I pushed and I hit, 8 minutes and 56 seconds or whatever. But I today feel not only are my ankles and knees sore and I'm just kind of sore, my legs, but I just feel depleted. And I'm doing all this work and still 3 miles, which is nothing, just fucking smoked me. So, I know how you feel, but the opposite way.
Yeah, no, I'm the exact opposite. Running is easy for me. Strength training is impossible for me.
Right. It's just crazy our ability to adapt. My goal is okay, I have to, if I feel this bad, I must really need some work here. So I have to, I would love to be able to just wake up in the morning and go run 3 miles easily. And it just be a nice morning, get the day started.
So I've been doing strength training now for, call it 3 months. Mm-hmm. And I kind of cut down the cardio because I feel like I'm getting the cardio with strength training. And then I just went for a run and it was so much easier.
Right. Because now you added some muscle to your legs and stuff.
Yeah. Whatever. Right. Maybe the core,
you have
who
decades
knows?
of build up running ability, Yeah.
I thought I was going to struggle in my normal 3 mile route. And I was able to get through it pretty easily. And I was kind of shocked because I consciously reduced the running because, there's all these studies strength training, you get the cardio instead. And then I was like, oh, wow, I can't believe it's easier.
Yeah, I'm trying to do both. There's also a trend of people, hybrid athletes that run and lift. And, but fuck, dude, it's just the difference of strength training. Yes, you're getting cardio, but it's very, even on my little tracker, it's very spiky. So it's really high when you're doing an exercise, but then you kind of wait a second and then you do another one. Whereas running is just peak heart rate for, 30 straight minutes.
I don't do the tracker because I just don't like making it a competition with myself.
Right. I love that
because I actually enjoy exercise and I just want to make it fun.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing for me because I know everyone does the Whoop or whatever, Aura Ring. And I'm like, once you start doing that, if you don't enjoy working out, I get it. So it like forces you to get to certain levels.
Right.
But I actually enjoy it. And I'm like, look, if I'm feeling good and I'm working out and I enjoy it, I don't want to make it like a business or a job.
Yeah. 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 That's not a bad concept. And we'll talk about it later. Actually, I would compare it to how people are sort of becoming disenchanted with dating apps, right? There's also like a wave of people becoming disinterested in fitness trackers because you can just obsess over it. Mm-hmm. And it's not fun and it becomes annoying and whatever. So I totally get it. Yeah. I need the competition. It also for me is more of like a sleep. Tracking my sleep helps so much. But anyway, yeah. So props to you. We need to like join forces. Right. Right. I need a little bit of what you got. You take a little bit of what I got. Cause holy fuck, dude, I've been doing all this shit. And keep in mind, boxing, like when I'm boxing,
that's great cardio.
It's incredible cardio.
I'm surprised the running hasn't gotten better.
I mean boxing is like, look, keep in mind, when I used to run a couple of years ago, I was running like 11-minute miles. So it is getting better. And I don't run I run like once or twice a month. It's getting better, but it's just, I don't know. There's something about like the little, like just pounding the cement over and over for 30 minutes. Like my ankles are sore, and then it's just 30 minutes of pure high heart rate. Even in boxing, you're really doing 3-minute rounds, 1 minute off. So at least you get like a little bit of rest. But anyway, props to all the runners out there, all the run club people. I know I've been posting my workouts lately looking like a tough guy, but all you got to do is get me to run 3 miles and I'm a fucking little puss.
Let's go for a run. Come over to the house.
I will, but I'm going to be embarrassed.
It's good and easy.
I heard it's better when you have someone to run with. It kind of takes your mind off the misery a little.
Yeah, I mean, if you're not a runner, I get that. But for me, it's just like kind of therapeutic. Like yeah. Right.
I'm not there yet. It's torture. What happened? You said you have a crime? True LA crime story?
So I work out at a very small gym down the street within 1 mile of here. Oh, yeah. I don't want to say the exact.
Is it the same one you've been working out at for a while?
No, I started 3 months ago with the strength training. So a week ago, we're working out and 30 FBI agents show up on the street. So this gym is right next to like a local neighborhood with houses that you know exactly. I'll bleep it. Can you bleep this out? I'll tell you exactly where it is. It's like blocks from.
Right.
So bleep that out.
Just like kind of there's neighborhoods back there, the gyms.
Yes. It's just like a small
on street.
It's on the
Okay.
So it's on the right. So it's not far from the street.
Right.
So we're working out and 30 FBI agents swarm the street. And me and the trainer are like, what the fuck is going on? The house next door is getting raided. And they're just hanging out. And they're all in these discrete cars, which I don't know how the FBI works, but like it's just like random Chevrolets, random,
Ford Taurus.
Yeah, exactly. Random Ford cars. Mm-hmm. And me and the trainer were like, what the fuck is going on here? And then, I went back this morning, right before I got here. And I was like, did you ever find out what happened? And because it's funny because the FBI agents were all roaming the street. Yeah. And they actually came in to our workout. He like welcomed them in. He's like, oh, you guys. And he's like, oh, this is just a little gym. And the FBI agent goes, when we show up, you're toast. He just.
Right.
And so then a week later, which is today, I asked the trainer, I was like, whatever happened with that? And this is what's crazy. Apparently, whoever lives in that house was running a crime syndicate from South America, getting South Americans into the country and to do all these like home burglaries.
Oh, fuck. So it's all tied. So the same people that are like robbing the houses are also helping them get in.
Yes. And then
they're so organized.
Apparently this guy didn't get arrested because he's going to sing like a bird.
Nice.
For whoever the crime boss is. But this is pretty organized.
It's very organized. I have no idea if this is true because I saw it on TikTok, but I saw that they're also trying to take over apartment buildings like in Chicago, and there's like all these funny TikToks about
apparently
how like Chicago's
fake,
not
right?
like okay, I don't know, but it was really funny because it was like Chicago isn't like Colorado. We treat this different. And
the Colorado is fake, right?
No, Colorado's real. Aurora
was
the Hells
fake.
Angels. Hells Angels was fake. I think.
Yeah.
I think that was
so.
A TikTok
anyways,
trend.
but it's definitely organized, and it's crazy. It's happening like, just a mile away from us.
Right. Imagine this must be similar in the world of organized crime to like, we know a lot of people that like when COVID happened, they were finding connections. And I know a guy who like booked a 747 and filled it up completely with like sanitizer and masks, and everyone, like all these entrepreneurial people were seeing an opportunity and capitalizing on it. And I know people that made tens of millions of dollars. This must be similar. Like if you're an organized crime dude that's, organized, you're like, hey, look at this opportunity. I can take advantage of the border issues, bring in some soldiers, go rob 10 houses a night or whatever your program's doing, and just clean up while we got these weird laws.
Yeah, so the Aurora, I'm just reading it right now, that there was no takeover of a building.
What's that on?
His name's Moshe. He's a pretty legitimate news source. Pretty down the... No
That's
signs
Twitter?
of a takeover. No, on Instagram. He posts all day on Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't know. I'm with you in the sense of I don't really trust social media either. It looked like it very heavily on social media. There were tenants that were complaining about it. But who the fuck knows? Either way, there's definitely some wild shit going on. And
I saw the FBI agents.
That's crazy, dude. That's
and
so
you know
scary,
exactly
though.
where I was.
I know. I asked this question before on the pod, but I want to ask it again. Where are all the cheap watches for sale? Like, meaning these guys are stealing so many watches and jewelry, and where are they reselling it? I haven't been told about the other side of the business one time about like, you can get a Richard Mille for fucking 20 grand if you call this guy. Where are they all going?
I think there's brokers, I guess. I don't know.
But it's a lot of volume. They got a lot of inventory.
It goes internationally. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you think about how much has been stolen in all the metropolitan cities, it's like...
I haven't heard one thing. Like usually I feel like we would hear those rumors or like, hey, if you call this guy, he's got watches for sale. I haven't heard one thing.
Yeah.
Who's benefiting from the other side? Because they're...
I guess they get a discount and no one wants to talk about it, I guess.
Yeah, or do they sell them to... is there some operation where it goes to like resellers and it looks like a legit... I don't know. It's interesting.
It's a good point. Because I don't know people buying black market watches. I don't know if you do.
No, I don't. That's what I'm saying. I haven't heard one single thing.
Maybe they just move it to a different city because they don't want to do it in LA.
Yeah, but you think that we would like kind of hear about that a little. It would be New York, Miami. I don't know. It's just interesting. Like, I'm curious. Obviously, their operation's pretty tight if they're running, FBI worthy operations of getting people in and robbing houses. But I just haven't heard anything about what happens after the robbery.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. And I don't have any insight on where the product goes next.
If anyone knows, maybe we have a listener.
But I mean, there's people stealing off the port, and that gets sold all day.
Yeah, that's true. There's probably just a huge, way bigger than we know, funnel for that shit.
Yeah, I think it's pretty massive. I mean, Dee and I got pitched by someone. Hey, this is 2007 when the iPhone came out.
Mm-hmm.
Have I told you guys this story?
I don't think so.
So anyways, 2007, someone comes into our downtown office and says like, I've got 4 iPhones, because it was impossible to get because everything was sold out right away because everyone was like anticipating it. So we bought it and we didn't know it was like stolen or whatever. We just thought, oh, he has like a distributor or something. This is 2007.
Right.
And we activated the phone in front of him just to make sure we know that the phone works. So we're not getting scammed.
Yeah. And
then 3 months later, we get a bill on our phone bill for $1,400 because our phone was stolen. And we called. We're like, why do we have a $1,400 bill? They're like, oh, this phone isn't appropriately sold, so you have to pay it. We did, but we got scammed.
That's crazy. It's also props to them for having such a solid back end system.
Yeah, and that's 2007. Crazy. So I imagine now it's like crazy.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy. All right, you want to get into some news?
Let's do it.
What's this? I see this story. I mean, I didn't even click it on purpose because I wanted to hear about it live. Are people trying to say that Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce was fake?
That's what the internet's saying. I'm assuming the internet is fake about this story, but they claim there's a leaked document that it was like a whole setup. And
for what, Pfizer?
No, for basically Travis to boost his image, and there's a leaked document that's like 99% fake.
Right.
That says their relationship's ending September 28th, which is, right
around the corner.
Right around the corner. And I'm sure it's fake. Like if they break up, they break up, but it has nothing to do with this document. But this is what is the problem with the internet in 24. This thing went viral. Like it was all over the internet this morning. That this whole thing was a psyops is what they're calling it. And it was all fake. And Travis and his brother, Jason, just signed a $100 million deal for their podcast with Amazon. And they just run with it. And the bigger story for me is I don't think any of this is true. I think in the age of how the internet works, if you're super famous, you really can't stop any of this. Because now you're going to have the conspiracy theories of all this, and it's not going to die. And I have no idea about their relationship, but let's assume it's a normal relationship. Now that puts pressure on them, and I don't know. It's just crazy how the internet works.
Yeah. This is why I have low expectations for AI, is because the idea of the internet was how much information will be accessible. And it's the world's information accessible to anyone. But what you don't realize is that humans are going to fuck it up. And now everything's going to become a conspiracy theory. And so therefore you're better off having no information, because I just think ultimately, like in 5 years, no one's going to trust anything they see on the internet.
I mean, you're almost at a point where you can't now.
Right.
Unless it's verified by like 5 different sources that have done the research. Because whoever leaked this, they put like a PR firm logo, which is so easy to just PDF.
I know that's the problem, right?
It's so easy to do this.
The problem is I just looked at the photo. It's just a fucking, I mean, who knows? But like, it's just a photo of a couple of pieces of paper with a logo on the top. I mean, anyone could copy it or could do that.
Anyone, any 19-year-old could do it.
Right. There's probably 12-year-olds that can do it. It's just, I mean, maybe it's true. Look, I'm here for tinfoil hat. I love it. please give me some more evidence. I will be all on board. But for it to go this viral and be on Daily Mail and all that shit, and it's just a photo of a piece of paper, that's tough.
Well, I mean, it's also easy to get clicks, right? You're talking about the most famous couple in the world right now.
But that's what sucks, dude. It's like Daily Mail could get their clicks for the day. Tomorrow, everyone forgets. They're just a little less trustworthy of the world, and we move on.
Yeah, I mean, think about the engagement on this story in the last 6 hours.
Right.
We're talking hundreds of millions of people.
Here's my take. Once again, I want this to be true because that's more exciting. But I know that agents and PR people will definitely set people up that they think would be a good match, even if it's kind of motivated by career, but ultimately the people are into each other or they aren't. I've seen that happen. I'm not saying that people don't do like, hey, my album's coming out, I need a high profile relationship, but it's hard for me to believe that Taylor Swift,
that she would get duped?
No, just like at her level, is she playing that game? Like, look, what I think is possible is I think that like maybe some agents or PR people were like, hey, Travis has a crush on Taylor. Let's make sure they get in contact. And they genuinely were into each other. Not that they're getting married, not that whatever, but like, yeah, fuck it. This is a cool little thing. We're going to see how it plays out. I believe that all day.
So the story of how they got together is Carissa Thompson and Aaron Andrews. They're both sports broadcasters. They have a famous podcast. Mm-hmm. And they know Travis. And they saw Travis like shoot his shot. And he couldn't get to meet her at Arrowhead Stadium, which is where the Chiefs played and which is where she performed.
Right.
And they claim that they went behind the scenes and got to Taylor Swift and said, like, he's actually a good guy. Give him a shot. And that's how they got together. That's what people say.
Yeah, I just don't believe. To me, with everything I've seen, I can only go off of what I've seen, is like a relationship story where there's like a date to the breakup is just funny business. That doesn't happen.
Wait, what do you mean?
I think celebrities definitely get together for hype and for like, hey, you got to get out there. You have an album coming out. I think that happens, but I do think
definitely.
But what I do not believe happens is that there is like a script with a date for the breakup.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like if this Taylor Swift thing would have lasted 2 months or a month, great. If it would have been one game she went to go see him because she had a crush on him, great. If they get married and live forever, great. I think it's kind of corny and not real. Like it reeks to me of someone who is just kind of corny and like made up this rumor that like, oh, and by the way, it's all scripted and they're going to be breaking up on September 28th. Like, I don't know. I've just never seen anything that ridiculous. I've seen some ridiculous shit. I've never seen that. Look, in the days of TV for us, like there were some very, very high level celebrities that would reach out through managers and say like, hey, we want to be Rob's friend. Can you introduce us? Like that happened. But that's just the weird world of Hollywood. Either we would be like, no, that's weird. Or like, yeah, come to the Fantasy Factory and look around and maybe you hang out a couple times. But there's not like a scripted... that's just too far, I think.
I agree. I don't think the script is real. I think this story is kind of a sham, and whether they both got into it for different reasons. Like I saw Adam Schefter say young women, the ratings is up like 800% since Taylor Swift and Kelce.
Right. I mean,
that watch the games and are now into the NFL.
I mean, the people who benefited, it's definitely multi-billion dollar. If you take into consideration the NFL, Taylor and all of her revenue, literally Pfizer, they were doing ads with Travis right after that. I mean, it's the biggest people in the world, but I don't know. I want it to be true. I just don't believe it.
Did you watch Adam Sandler and Rogan or listen?
No.
So Sandler is very close with Chris Rock.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I think they've been best friends for like a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought up the Will Smith, the slap.
Yeah.
And Sandler was obviously like pretty shaken up over it. Like, I can't believe that happened. But then Rogan made the more interesting point.
Yeah.
He's like, you're Chris Rock. You're one of the most famous celebrities in the world. And no one came to defend you after Will Smith walked up and slapped you. It's basically saying Hollywood's just fake. Yeah. Like, you're one of the biggest guys. You get slapped on stage in a global telecast and no one gave a fuck. So all these people you thought were your friends, no one came to your defense.
Yeah. That's true.
If I was in a
that's true.
bar and someone slapped me, I would hope my friends do something.
Yeah, I got you all day. You're right. You're right. I didn't think about it in like the friend. Because what I was going to compare it to is like if you were at the Beverly Center right now and someone walked up and smacked you, probably everyone's watching.
Yes. But if you're with all these people that are technically your peers that claimed, think about how many people Chris Rock knew in that audience.
But what's weird is they all went to Will. Like, remember the video and stuff of like Denzel Washington, like, or whoever it was, like consoling Will afterwards?
And then he wins an award and gets cheered.
That was the most fucked up moment. But
I never thought about it from that perspective. Like, Chris Rock, look, Will Smith's a bigger star than Chris Rock, but Chris Rock's not that less of a star with all these stars that are there.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think it's no secret that like that whole thing's bullshit. Those people aren't your friends.
Yeah.
But I do think the fucked up part is that they went to Will though.
Which is crazy. He was the one at fault.
Right. It's just the fucked up world of like,
I think they're just playing a game of chess. Will's the bigger star, so let's all protect Will.
Yeah, we should have known this the moment you saw his palm hit his face. He's not a big star anymore. Go to Chris.
It's wild.
Yeah, I agree. It's a funky world, but once again, we've all seen wild shit. We've heard the stories. We've lived here for a very long time now. We've been adjacent to all of this shit. I just don't believe in the level of like a script and a scripted breakup. I think it's just opportunistic. People just are very opportunistic. Like we saw with the Chris Rock, Will Smith. Everyone just said, all right, whatever, Chris Rock. But Will, you got your award like 10 minutes later and everyone gave you a standing ovation. And then he tells a story about how Denzel said the devil and whatever, the whole thing. Right. And Chris, where's Chris?
No one defended
on his way
Chris.
To fucking In-N-Out in the after party. The fuck? Yeah, I agree.
It's a fucked up world. Don't be in Hollywood.
Yeah.
I think that's the takeaway.
It's hard to make it out or make it through sane. I think at that level, I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
At that level.
But I think Rob's done a great job. He just turned into biohacking fitness guy.
Right. But you got to keep in mind, like our stuff was always a little different. Mine was obviously different because I was lesser on the recognizability level. Even he, though, like we never got into like the press never cared who we were dating. The paparazzi never followed us. Like we've hung out with, there was one time when we filmed an episode with John Mayer and we hung out with them a little bit during that period and seeing how he had to act and how the paparazzi followed him. And if you remember, we did a funny skit where Rob had John Mayer drag him out of a nightclub and pretend that he was blacked out because they knew that the paparazzi would be all over John. And so they would catch Rob supposedly blacked out. But we never, anytime I've seen the way that real celebrities live, it is very, very, very different. We never did that. So yes, Rob remained really sane and everything, but it's different than Taylor Swift or those people. It's such a different, weird world.
Yeah. I mean,
because I guess even for Taylor, the lines are probably blurry. Like she might really like Travis. She also might like the storyline of it. I think it's probably a blurry line. I don't think it's a calculated script. I think that's just her life. It's weird.
Yeah, I mean, she became the face of the NFL.
Right.
Like, was that part of the calculation of like, okay, date the tight end of a 2-time Super Bowl champion,
right,
back to back, and then
it's a weird world. It's weird. There's a funny list here. So Nvidia, has been the most talked about stock of 2024. I think is safe to say. Everyone knows it's just absolutely exploded. It became like a $3 trillion company, in rapid speed. Right now, it's having some struggles. I think it's down 10 or more % over the last week. I think it was down like 9% yesterday. But there's this list of in 2024, Nvidia has blank. Here's the things that Nvidia has done in 2024.
Yeah, so they had the largest single day gain of market cap by a stock in history. They posted the largest single daily loss of a market cap by stock in history.
Insane.
Become the largest company publicly in the world. Erased $1 trillion of market cap in under 1 month. Created an estimated 25,000 total employees that are millionaires. And the CEO, Jensen, had his net worth decrease by 10 billion in a single day. So the company was at like 3.1 trillion, I believe, at the peak.
Right.
And now it's at like 2.5 trillion.
Right.
So there's like a $600 billion loss there in the span of a week. The Department of Justice is investigating Nvidia right now for a monopoly on chips.
Yep.
And their dealings with, foreign countries. It's just like the most volatile company that we've seen at this scale. Like, there aren't that many companies that are worth $600 billion, and they just lost that market cap in, a week.
Right.
There's only probably like
billion.
7 companies that are worth more than 600 billion.
Right.
Maybe 5.
I mean, what's Facebook? Isn't Facebook sub?
No, Facebook got back. They
did it hit trillion?
Yeah, I think they got back to the T's.
Okay, but they were recently at like 800.
Oh, they were at like 300 billion.
Yeah, at the bottom. Yeah. Oh, yeah, 1.229.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's just mind blowing. It's just like, I don't know. I was trying to think of a take or like a question of like how is this even possible? Like, is this a 2024 phenomenon where everything's so interconnected and global? Is this it is truly mind boggling. So what their year has been.
And it's pretty much all companies that are publicly traded. It's the algorithms that basically dictate all this.
Yeah.
It's not like you and me just like going on a Robinhood and buying stock and selling stock.
Right.
It's like algorithms of these like massive funds that dictate based on news, they either buy or they sell. Like, for example, Coupang, which obviously I'm a shareholder in, they got an upgrade today by one analyst and the stock went up almost 7% on no news. Wow. So the algorithm saw this research report.
Yeah.
And the algorithm told all the funds to basically start buying.
Right.
And there was no like update on the company.
Right. Right. Well, that's what's funny is Nvidia is getting creamed since their earnings, and their earnings were good.
The earnings are great.
Yeah.
And it could be profit takers because people have ran up the whole entire rise to 3.1 trillion. And, if you're a hedge fund or one of these mutual funds and you've made like 40, 50% in the course of like 6 months,
right,
you can sell and you're done for the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got your return. And there's plenty of funds that do that. They just basically like, all right, we made our return. We're going to get our carry. Pencils down. Everyone go to Florida.
Happy holidays.
Sit on the beach.
Right. I get it. It makes sense. I mean, what do you do like for the non-financial advice portion of this category? Kind of hard to see Nvidia going up much past its all-time high right now, right? Or no? Does it have more?
I think there's going to be competition. So, trading at 40x revenue is probably too high.
Right.
And you got to imagine Google, Apple, even Facebook are working on chip alternatives. Microsoft, even Microsoft's business is so diversified. I think I mean, who freaking knows? I don't know what these companies are doing behind the scenes, but I don't think everyone in big tech is just putting their hands down and saying, Nvidia, you won.
Right.
That's my guess.
It also just feels like psychologically, like when you have this unstoppable run, like at a certain point, it's going to come to an end. And like you said, all these big funds taking profit, it's usually the retail guy who gets caught holding the bag because they don't know when to take the profit. And usually, so who knows? But I don't know. I would say if you're a listener and you are a Nvidia holder, just take a look at it and proceed with caution. Because I think the last year,
have a little caution.
Yeah, the last year has just been like, it kind of tapped into that like GameStop-y, like let's get rich quick thing. Like it's working. It's nothing but huge wins. And it just feels like the party might be kind of getting back to reality here.
Yeah, it's similar to that everyone said OpenAI is going to beat everyone. And then lo and behold, everyone was working on AI. They just hadn't released product.
Right. And now everyone else is doing it for free. Facebook and Google, it's just tied into their shit now. Okay. How about this? There was an aide to Governor Hochul.
Sure. I don't know how to pronounce it.
All right. Who was secretly working with the Chinese fucking government and just got charged.
Yeah. So
Linda Sun.
I think the story for me is how infiltrated our institutions are by foreign spies and agents.
Are these the Dems? Is Hochul a Dem?
I think so.
Not good for your team.
But anyways, this aide, can you actually Google that if she is a Democrat?
Yeah, no, we should.
But the point is, this is happening across all institutions, Facebook, Google,
right?
Governors of, the massive states. And apparently what she was doing, she was getting paid millions of dollars by the Chinese government to basically stop New York senior officials meeting with Taiwanese people, because obviously China and Taiwan have their dispute.
Right.
And pro-Beijing policies. And she did all this. She's 41. So she's not that old.
She's a Democrat.
Uh-oh.
And I just think this is happening across everywhere. Yeah. Like big tech is fully infiltrated by spies. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
And now we're seeing like governors, colleges for sure.
I mean, there's researchers at colleges. That guy got busted not that long ago. Yeah.
Harvard's funded by like Chinese foreign agents for.
You know what I need? I need to know who they're catching of our people, because I need some points on the board here. I'm sure we're doing the same shit to them. And I would to think, because we're America, we're better. But like, can I get some stats? Can you show me? You don't have to tell me who's active, but like, who have they caught? Because I want to compare fantasy football teams here to make sure, because it just feels like they're all everywhere and we're not doing anything.
Yeah, it's maybe they just get rid of them and we never find out.
I know, but tell us like, yo, we lost contact with fucking Rebecca Smith. She was heavy up in G's cabinet.
I would suspect these are from the American side. This is all speculation from watching movies and listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
Is that they're covert folks that will never get exposed, and they just may come home. They may not.
You're right. You're right. I just wish because we're here, we hear about the people that got busted from there. And so it creates this perception that they're just dunking on us. And I don't know what we're up to. And I want to know.
Do you really think the Chinese government, if they found, an American spy?
Hell no. They would never admit it.
They would execute them immediately.
Right.
And then we would never know that person got executed.
They're in the fucking bodies exhibit. Did you hear that joke about the bodies? I think Rogan has a joke about it. You know the bodies exhibit where it's like all the dead people, but it's just their muscles. They're like playing sports and things.
Yeah.
That's like Joe Rogan has a joke about he went there and then he looked up where those bodies come from, and they come from China. And it says like may include, political prisoners or something. Like it's something real sketchy that essentially, they could be offing people and turning them into tennis players for the bodies exhibit. Anyway, yeah.
It's all possible. Yeah.
I think our people just disappear. You see my point. I know that logically it doesn't make sense for them to expose anything about what we're up to, but I'm just saying that the perception is we only hear about their spies, and I just want a few little updates.
Yeah, but the difference is in America, regardless of the crime you commit, there is a criminal justice system.
I know.
This person has to go, face a judge.
You're right.
And explain what they're up to. In other countries, they don't.
You're right. I feel like we're losing. And I know we're not, but I feel like we are. It's like if you went to the USC game and you could only see LSU's touchdowns, you'd be like, well, how are we doing? Because this crowd seems really loud and I don't like it.
It's fair.
Okay, how about this? We've talked about this a few times, but it's starting to become more and more in the news. The boomers.
Yep.
The boomers have, what's the number of their wealth?
90 trillion.
Jesus. Okay. So something that we've talked about is like the boomers have $90 trillion worth of assets and wealth.
That's just an absurd number.
I mean, 90 trillion. God, that's absurd.
This is sourced by fortune.com.
So they have 90 Facebooks that they are going to be passing down. And we've talked about like how millennials and Gen Z are going to be the recipients of this money that is, in, you would say, savings, retirement accounts, real estate. And it's a really massive wealth transfer that's kind of pending. The big problem is boomers aren't trying to hand this shit off easily.
Yeah, they say 1/5 of the baby boomers don't expect to leave anything behind. So 20% of that 90 trillion.
Right. So 18 trillion is getting spent on what? Fucking Florida trips? Carnival cruise lines?
Are they just trying to spend it before they pass? Like we talk about how the boomers are taking their kids to Mexico, Hawaii, or their kids' to Disneyland, Legoland, Disney World.
I think so. That's my
taking
bet.
the Paris Olympics.
Yep.
How many boomers took their grandkids? They should do a trip every other week.
Yeah. Fuck you guys. That's what I think. They're like, I'm going out like a king.
It's such a staggering number that you can't really spend all that. Do you think they're just going to give it away to philanthropy, or what do you think they're going to do?
If you're not handing it down, I mean, what are your options? Philanthropy and spending it.
That's it.
YOLOing and philanthropy. And I have a feeling it's more YOLOing.
Yeah. So of my age, I think people will start inheriting money, and I'm not trying to be morbid,
right?
But it's going to start happening, but I don't know of any. I know people who've gotten their parents to put the down payment on their house to get them on their feet. The vacations, I get it.
Right.
But there's still like a large balance.
What are you? Are you a
And
millennial?
I don't think technically.
You're at the very beginning?
I think I'm at the tail end of millennial.
Right.
D's a boomer.
Is he?
No, he's not. I think he actually technically is on the
He's still
borderline
at the
of
end
millennium.
of. Oh, right. Yeah, you're right. You're right. It's just $90 trillion. I can't even wrap my head around. I mean, look, I guess it solves the question of a lot of like the housing. I mean, a lot of millennials are getting free houses.
Yeah, they'll get that for sure. Like all these houses are likely paid off.
I mean, these old folks must just be keeping the airlines in business.
They have to be in the hotels.
Maybe everyone's broke and the whole economy is propped up by boomers.
Yeah, so maybe everyone under 50 is broke and the boomers are just propping up all their travel, leisure.
It's funny. I love it. I love every bit of it. I love the idea of like grandma and grandpa just turning up on a Carnival cruise line instead of, handing that money down.
I would imagine like Alaska cruise is probably like booked out for the whole year.
Gotta be.
Like I know my parents went like, a handful of years ago. So I'm assuming everyone of their age is doing it.
Right. Well, we're going to keep an eye because this story is incredible. And there's going to be, I can see it like ramping up, like just the awareness of it, I guess you could say, in kind of popular news. But I just love it. We already have joked about grandma and grandpa taking the kids and the family to Disneyland, but this is a fascinating story. Seems like a good time to start a business targeted towards these old ladies and gentlemen.
There's some morbid businesses that are tied to this.
Yeah.
Buying their life insurance.
Right. Those life insurance guys are creepy. Okay. Another thing about 2024 is tough year for a lot of businesses. I think we have this weird thing going on where like parts of the economy and the stock market are really great. Parts of the economy and even parts of the stock market aren't doing so well, but it's kind of like both happening at once. One big thing is a lot of restaurants filed for bankruptcy. So we have a list of 10 restaurant chains that filed for bankruptcy this year. It's funny. It feels like we're doing a year wrap up and it's fucking September, but who do we got?
We got a Mediterranean fast casual chain called Roti. I've never even heard of it. Have you?
Nope.
Buca de Beppo, that bums me out.
That was a big Pat family staple.
We did that all our childhood too.
Same, yeah.
World of Beer, Rubio's, which I know is like a known thing.
I know that
Melt
one.
Barn Grilled. It's a Cleveland-based chain. Do you know it?
No, it might have been after my time.
Kuma's Corner. Midwestern. These are all Midwestern chains.
Yeah, it's rough. Rough out there in the Midwest.
Red Lobster.
Legend.
Tijuana Flats.
No.
And a couple others that I've never heard of. But anyways, I think the point is, I think labor costs are just too high.
Right.
Insurance is too high.
Right.
And it's really tough to run a restaurant. This is why you see for lease everywhere and even in LA. And clearly it's now hitting the rest of the country. And
yeah,
it's just,
I would also have to believe that like the like postmating thing, like it just really seems to have stuck post COVID. I don't know. It's such a small sample size, but I know so many people that Postmate instead of go where they would have went to get a quick meal somewhere.
I mean, I Postmate and DoorDash a ton.
So I just wonder, like if you're Red Lobster and you have however many locations, like I wonder if that's a factor.
I wonder when the grocery stores start getting bankruptcies. Because they're a very low margin business. I gotta imagine that's the next shoe to drop.
Right. Yeah, I just think it's interesting. I don't know. It feels like we're on this weird like edge of a recession, or maybe in a recession by some people's arguments. But then kind of not. But then, like, I don't know. Then there's these, big chains that are going bankrupt. There's obviously all these retail places that are closing locations for other reasons. Like, there's just a lot of shit going on that I'm curious how it settles.
Yeah, I think that the one thing that's very different than 2008 is that there's no systemic risk. So in 2008, you had all these homes underwater. So it's like, all these people, they're single family homes.
Commercial real estate. You don't think commercial real estate and it's tied to like even regional banks is a risk?
I think regional banks will suffer for sure.
But then they'll just get bought by JP Morgan.
Exactly. Uncle Jamie will just come in and take everything over.
Right.
But it's not affecting the individual. So like if the owner of this building that we're in right now goes belly up, does it affect the house 2 doors down? No.
Yeah. I just remember the First Republic thing where people were losing money. People's accounts were disappearing.
Right. I think that's definitely
like if your your regional bank crashes, you lose your savings.
But I think everyone got bought, right?
That's a good question. I actually don't know that. I think so, though.
Bought or bailed out? I don't think anyone actually lost a single dollar of deposits.
Right. That's a good question.
Whenever that was like 12 months ago.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope you're right. It does seem totally reasonable that you would be right. I also think that, we, by all looks of it, we're on the edge of some rate cuts and some, it feels like we might have reached the maximum pain level of this whole inflation part of the puzzle. Yeah. And so, as we all know, you start getting rate cuts, you start getting things moving again. Most of these things aren't an issue anymore. But I'm just curious. I don't know. It's felt dangerous for the last year, but nothing's really happened, but it kind of has. But I know people are struggling, but not everybody. Like, it's just kind of weird.
Yeah. The betting markets are predicting 100 basis points cut in 2024.
Wow.
Between now and the end of the year.
Okay. That's good.
So we'll find out. There's a meeting September where everyone's predicting a minimum of 25 or 50. And then again,
when's that
later
meeting?
In the year?
End of the month?
Mid-September. So close. Like 2 weeks.
Got it. Okay. Unfortunately, we have to end the news portion on a bummer because it looks like today there was a school shooting in Georgia. It looks like as of right now, there are 4 people dead, 30 injured. Now, I hate to even say this, but 30 injured, you would imagine maybe, those numbers change. Hopefully not, but completely tragic. This is definitely a pretty unique American issue. The one thing I thought about is I was like, why haven't we heard about any school shootings in a while? A big reason for that has been it's been summer. And so when you really look, like, this is school just started again recently, and we're back to this. So, it's just, look, I think all gun violence is tragic and terrible. I think all of these things are bad, but there's just something unique about a school shooting where that people are innocent and unarmed and they're at a place to learn and not to be at war. It also just feels like a terrible cheap shot, like there's so many people in one place and nobody's armed. There's so many things about it that are so horrendous. And once again, unfortunately, uniquely, a big problem in America. And here's another one. So
Yeah. So, I mean, if you just look at school shootings by year, I'll just do a 20-year kind of chart. So in 2003, there was 34. In 2023, there was 349. So we're 10xing over a 20-year period.
Right. You know what my honest question is? And I don't think we need to like try to answer it today but feel free to like share your thoughts, is like, no matter what, we can admit this is a terrible problem. And it's something, once again, like pretty unique to the US.
Yep.
My question is, like, honestly, how do we make progress here? Because, and the reason why I say honestly is because I know that the Democrats are much more for gun control than the Republicans. That is something that I love about the Democrats and why I don't consider myself a Republican. Not the sole reason, but it is a major reason. The problem is we just had 4 years of Democratic president, and there was not even, the topic barely even came up. And even as a potential voter, my concern would be Kamala was in that administration and never mentioned it. I know she's going to mention it now, but I just don't have a lot of faith. It kind of feels to me like her tax plans. Like, it's nice to say, it's good on the campaign trail, but I don't see anything actually happening. And so it's almost like if we were to run an exercise of like, okay, you're not going to ban guns. What else could you do? Like, how do we make any progress? We've made zero progress since Sandy Hook, since all of these things, zero.
So I think Republicans have taken a hard stance. You have a split House and Senate.
Right.
And the lobbies have gotten the Republicans to basically ban any progress in terms of gun control. Right. So no Republican, Mitch McConnell said it's dead on arrival. So like, why don't we have background checks? Why don't we have like all these different things? You shouldn't be able to buy a gun on the internet. You shouldn't be able to do all these things. We're never going to eliminate guns. I know that. There's 400 million guns to 400 million people. That's impossible to eliminate. So it's a silly exercise to think you're going to eliminate guns. But what you can do is have stricter rules on who gets to own a gun. And forget the hunters. They're going to have their hunting guns. That's, you know, that's a whole different issue. But like, this was a student with access to the gun. The guy who tried to kill Trump, he just took it from his dad and went. Right. Like, I don't think we're doing anything because Republicans, and I hate to make this political, they won't vote for it.
Right. So then the reason why I say
their view, the Republican view is basically if we do one restriction, they're going to come for everything.
Right.
And it's like, it's a falsehood compared to censorship. Because I know with censorship, everyone's like, oh, you ban one thing, then you're coming after free speech. But we clearly have a problem. It's a systemic problem. Like, unlike what the economy, I don't think we have a systemic problem in the economy. We have a systemic problem with shootings. They're happening at an alarming rate. I just named a 10x increase in 20 years.
So let me just ask you this then, is going back to like trying to be as realistic as possible. If Republicans, it's dead on arrival, and that's just a fact, and that's not going to change. I think we would argue the path being to change Republican stance is not a very realistic one. What's the other, like, is this you need a Democrat House and Senate?
A controlled Congress and a controlled Congress by Democrats to get anything done. Right. I mean, Mitch McConnell, if you want to remind people, in 2008, when Obama got elected, he publicly said, I will ban any legislation that Obama presents. Didn't even claim what legislation it was. Right. He just said, I will not support anything he presents. Yeah. So how do you get things done?
Right. That is why my honest opinion is, as a voter, as a citizen, I take the stance of, okay, then I'm going to do the best I can to protect myself because it's not going to change. And there's nothing like, you want to know one thing that makes me very, very mad is and I don't mean to like topic jump, especially on such a serious topic, but like the fact that guns like in LA, which is as democratic as Democrat run as it gets, are treated so minor when it comes to criminals makes me really mad. Because the number one person that should be punished if we're tough on guns should be the person who has it illegally or is using it to, let's say, run in your house in the middle of the night. And the fact that that is treated so loosely makes me, as someone who would love for guns to not be an issue, feel like I need to have a bunch of them because the bad guy does. And when he does and he gets arrested, he's not even, when I was at the gun store the last time, I don't know if this is true exact. I don't know the law, but they told me that there's a new thing in LA where if you have your gun with you, which you're not allowed to carry your gun around town, but if you have your gun concealed, let's say in your car, as long as you don't have a bullet in the chamber, they treat it as a misdemeanor. So if the cops pull you over, you have a gun in your car, just pop the bullet out of the chamber. If you have one, it'll be a misdemeanor, not a felony. Like as if they're getting, like the word around town is they're getting looser. They don't care that much. Oh, you have a gun. This guy has a gun. He ran in your house. He robbed you at a stoplight. He this, that. No one cares. Like, shouldn't we be treating the whole thing as bad,
I agree. I 100% agree.
I don't understand why LA is as
even if it's
Democrat as it gets. Why aren't we tough on everyone with guns?
If it's an illegal gun, you can still get off with a misdemeanor. Is that what they're saying?
Well, I don't know what that is. I think if you have like a stolen gun, I think if you have a registered gun in your like car, let's say, where you're not allowed, and you don't have a bullet in the chamber, you'll get charged as a misdemeanor. But the point is, I think that is the same laws and things that all of these people are exploiting. Like armed robbery used to be something that never really crossed my radar living in LA. Now it's something that I hear about a new one twice a week. Armed robbery, people running in your house with guns, and those people are getting let out of jail that night or the next morning.
Yeah,
it's just weird in a Democrat state that's how we treat it.
The guy who shot the 49ers was in jail 3 days before.
Right. And I'm sure he was out. Well, I don't know if he actually shot him. He might not have got out that quick.
Well, now he's getting charged with attempted murder. The guy's already working out. Remember we said 4 games?
Right. That's absurd.
Now he's already have him in the gym.
That's absurd. But that's just, I don't know. The complaints that I have is like, I agree. We should have background checks. Come on, man. It's just fucking crazy. And I agree that the Republican stance of no progress whatsoever is also really stupid and ignorant. But the thing that I don't get is why, where I live, which is super Democrat, do I feel unsafe because guns are so popular with criminals? The natural response to that is to go buy 5 guns.
I would assume the number of people that own guns in LA is like skyrocketed.
Went through the roof. The amount of people that have asked me if I have a connection for concealed carry permits is insane in the last year.
The problem with that too is like when you're talking about law-abiding citizens with guns, it's you put yourself at risk
all day. I don't want to have a gun.
So when I had my home invasion, the cops came in to like ask me if I wanted to press charges or whatever. I was like, just get him help.
Right.
And I told you they wouldn't even get him help. They just walked him down into the park and it was pouring rain and he probably went to the next house.
Right.
But I asked them out of curiosity, I don't own a gun. And I was like, what would have happened if I pulled a gun and shot him when he came in? Yeah. He's like, you'd probably be in trouble.
Right. Right. Because he was unarmed.
Yeah.
You didn't know that. But look,
didn't know that.
Here's the other thing. Let's be as realistic as fucking possible here. I don't care how tough, at least when it comes to me and you and our friend group.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit how tough you are or think you are. Nobody wants to murder a person in their living room. I don't care if they ran in with a bazooka. You don't want to do that. You don't want that on your conscience. You don't want that in your memory. No one wants to go through that. And so everyone can say like, yeah, fuck it. I just bought 5 AR-15s. Great. Good for you. I hope you feel safe. But who really wouldn't it be better if you just didn't have to worry about it at all?
I mean, I agree. The number of people that claimed if they had the same situation I had, I would have blasted them. I was like, no, you wouldn't have.
No, you wouldn't have. Absolutely not. You wouldn't have. When you're staring down at person, like there's just no chance. Anyway, so not to, I think it's hard, especially because we're right at election season, not to, jump right into that conversation. But look, I don't know what else to say. It's like we've had so many of these instances, like in Georgia, which is so sad and so terrible. And I don't know. It's just strange that we move on to the next. Like, yeah, I wonder. Imagine, is this a thing where we need armed security at every school?
So all the private schools in LA have armed security,
right?
So,
like, do you have to just go that way? Because it's better to have safe kids than to.
I mean, Vivian, our 2.5-year-old, now just started a pre-K.
Yep.
So not even like kindergarten, because it's like for 2 and 3-year-olds.
Right.
There's 2 armed guards that roam the whole school all day.
Which, look, that's crazy. And it's sad that you'd have to do that. But at the same time, I would rather do that than have kids in danger. And I just wonder, do we, like, at some point, we got to stop going through the same motions every time there's one of these things.
And Drama, you know exactly where I live. It's 2 blocks away. So in that area, they believe they need 2 armed guards.
Right. But that's my point, is like, maybe it's time we do that in the areas that really do need them. I'm not saying your area doesn't. Who knows? There's wild shit going on, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know. I think you and I both, and a lot of our listeners, the reason why we're entrepreneurs, the reason why whatever, is because we're problem solvers. And it drives me nuts to see the same headlines over and over and over. And we do the same thing again. We all say, we need to ban guns, and then we'll never ban guns, and then fuck the NRA, and thoughts and prayers, and nothing changes. It's so crazy.
Nothing changes. It's similar to like government waste,
right,
which we saw during COVID, which we see with the military. Nothing changes.
Right.
That's the sad part. Like, why are we spending $850 billion a year on military?
Right.
How much of that is waste?
Right.
That's on the U.S. military. This is separate from aid. Like, you could separate aid out of it. Where is that $850 billion going?
Oh, man.
The Pentagon has never passed an audit in the history of its existence.
Right.
Because no one knows where the money goes.
Cost? Right. It's just silly, man. It's just one of these silly things. I don't want to get stuck on it too much because it's just so easy to get pissed. But like, the one thing that I do want to add and reiterate is it does annoy me living in one of the most Democrat, sort of wokey cities in the country, that guns are treated so minor when criminals are using them on people.
Yeah,
because that just feeds into the argument of like one of the biggest arguments is you could get rid of if you told everyone today you have to turn in your guns, all the people that are going to turn in the guns are the law abiding citizens. The criminals are not. And so everyone's
just illegally purchased.
Right. And so everyone's just going to be, in theory, sitting around in their homes and whatever with no guns while all the criminals have them. Got it. That's a really tough problem to solve. I don't know what you do about that. But I do know that one way to start is to treat criminals using guns to rob people very harshly. And instead, we treat them like you're stealing a Snickers bar.
Yeah. No, it's bad.
Okay, let's move on. Winners, losers, content. Let's wrap it up for the episode. Who's your winner of the last week?
National parks.
What are they up to?
They contributed a record high of $55.6 billion to the U.S. economy and supported 415,000 jobs in 2023. People love the parks.
It's probably those fucking boomers.
Yeah, that's me.
I'd go
we're not giving
parks.
you $1. We're going to Yosemite.
We're going to fucking Yosemite. We're balling out. VIP tour. I would go long parks for the next 5 years.
It's actually, so there, it's a funny thing. If you go to any national park, massive Indian population at every national park.
Really?
Doesn't matter where.
Why's that, you think?
I think
it's just like part of coming to America and seeing our sights.
Yeah, I think it is. And it's not like Indians like me and D, it's fobs.
Right. I would imagine.
It's like we went to Colorado Springs. This is like probably, like 10 years ago with our family. It was like a little family reunion thing.
Right.
And there's like a little train you take up. It was 100% Indians.
If you had to guess, this might be just a complete fucking wild guess, but like of everyone legally coming to the United States, we'll say moving here, what percentage, like, do you think Indians is a outsized percentage?
In terms of just
like, do you think there's a
immigration?
lot more? Yeah.
I would have
they just
said,
like to explore.
I think they like to explore because even like we have cousins that have come from India. They're just all at parks all the time. Like I see the family updates. They're always at some sort of national park.
I'm just so fascinated by like cultures, you know, and like
if you go to the base of Yosemite, like wherever the recreation is, they're not doing like the 10-mile hike and being, you know, adventure man. They're all sitting and eating Indian like food out of like a tin can that they homemade and they brought.
Right. I'm just fascinated by it. I just love the way that different cultures just do things.
Yeah. And I mean, these are all people. I remember when we were in Colorado Springs, I saw like a handful of Indians that I knew weren't born here. I could just tell.
Right.
And I just asked them, I was like, where are you guys from? And they're like, oh, we're grad students at UT Austin. And I was like, so when did you fly in? He goes, no, we drove. So he drove from Texas to Colorado, which I have no idea how long that is, to go to this national park.
Yeah. I love it. I fucking love it. I love Indians.
I mean, go to any national park. Anyone who listens, if you've been to a national park, it's just Indians.
Yeah, you guys are just living. Your people are just, you're exploring, you're running businesses, you're just, you know, you're active.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one. You know, my winner, it's very obscure, but is Tom Brady.
Ah.
You know, I saw a video of Tom Brady posting on YouTube, my first bench PR in 18 years. I think he benched like, I don't know, 265 or something, which is very impressive. And like the guy is just, I don't know how he's feeling personally. It just looks like he is living. He's posting like, here's me in Paris for the Olympics. Obviously, he did the roast on Netflix. He's posting all these YouTube videos. He's benching. I don't know. I felt like this week he deserves some recognition because he seems to be doing post athlete life very well.
Yeah, I think he calls his first game as a Fox analyst this weekend. Which should be incredible. But yeah, you're right. Personally, I'm sure he went through hell the last 12, 13 months.
Right.
It was pretty public of what happened with his divorce.
Right. I mean, I'm on YouTube right now. It says, Tom Brady, I tried to dunk at 47, 500,000 views.
Yeah.
He's just living.
This is one of the things that I think about with like the young athlete stars. They invest so much in their personal brand at like 16, 17, 18. And then they kind of flame out because they didn't focus on their craft.
Right.
And then you have Tom Brady who focused on his craft for 20 years.
Yeah.
And didn't do social media. He didn't do anything. He just won Super Bowls and was the best at what he does. And then now his second life, he lives like a rock star.
Right. And you know what? I'm going to go as far as to say, I think that's a good model for young people to follow. I think we're in a generation of like, everyone wants to be an expert before they have the experience, and they want to build the platform and the audience before they have the experience. Do what Tom Brady did. Go win some goddamn Super Bowls and then start your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you think about from the outside looking in, what we see on social, he's living the best life of anyone in the world.
Right. And you want to pay attention because the guy's proved himself as a unique person, as opposed to like, watch me vlog my first day of high school football. No one gives a shit.
And I think that's a problem with a lot of young American athletes. They want to focus so much on their brand, but don't want to actually get better at what they do.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. Okay. Who's your loser for the last week?
Losers dating apps. Apparently they're falling off a cliff.
Yeah.
College students aren't using them. I just don't know if the reason is they're not finding connections or they're just less interested in meeting people.
Well, that's a good question, because what I was going to say is I don't have faith that they are turning that attention towards meeting people in real life. I have a feeling they're just checking out of the dating scene. I mean, as far as I know, the complaints about dating apps are that they're very hookup culture-y, very stale. You don't actually meet and talk and get to know people. I mean, I've heard all the complaints. Obviously, in the work that I do, I hear a lot about that stuff, because we sell sort of a anti-dating app item. But yeah, my bigger concern is I don't feel like they're replacing that for going to meet people in real life. They're probably just not, procreating.
Yeah, I mean, we've joked about this on the pod. It's got to be easier than ever to go to a bar and meet a girl and have a connection. You
would think that if you have the ability to walk up to a stranger and like say a couple smooth lines and have a conversation and make eye contact.
If you just say, hey, how are you?
Yeah.
I bet you, hey, how are you?
Makes you Zac Efron in your local bar. Yeah.
I gotta imagine it's that easy.
I think you're right. I think it is. I mean, there are pages on, I don't know why I'm getting this shit, but there are pages on TikTok that are people, how there's like prank people? Yeah. There's now pages that are like Riz people that like, the guy whose page it is just goes up and hits on a bunch of girls and gets their number. And that's it. That's the end of the video. But kids are just sitting in their room.
Foreign concept?
Yeah. That's aspirational content now. You know what I mean? That's like what fucking, I don't even know, like what Anthony Bourdain used to be, like, wow.
Any single guy, just say, hey, how are you? What's your name?
Yeah.
Do that this weekend.
Yeah. You'll clean house. Do it everywhere you go. And
it's not even that smooth of a line, but I bet you it works.
No, it's basic humanity, but it will work like a charm. They'll be like, oh my, who are you? Michael B. Jordan? Okay, that's a really good one. Mine, this one just came up to me too, and I'm curious your take on this. Mine is Caitlin Clark haters.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the tide is starting to turn a little. Like I saw LeBron poster.
Yep.
And I don't know, I just feel like it's starting to turn a little bit. I'm not saying it's going to be overwhelmingly Caitlin Clark is a god just yet, but I think the haters are about to get exposed, and the kind of people who played the race thing a little too hard. And like, I think I don't know. It felt like a good week to give the Caitlin Clark haters an L.
Yeah, no, I think what I've actually appreciated in this like race war country we're in
right.
is that black authorities on sports like Stephen A. Smith, LeBron are all pro Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
And they're basically they're taking the stance like undoubtedly she's incredible.
Right.
Let's not make this about white versus black, because Angel Reese is, the other rookie that she's black, but they're just all on Caitlin Clark's side. Not that they're not on Angel Reese's side,
right?
But they're like, we need to cut the shit. Right. Like she's growing the game. She's selling out arenas. Like they have to move stadiums to like fit 17,000 people because everyone wants to watch Caitlin Clark. She's getting bullied in games.
Yeah.
People are taking cheap shots.
Yeah.
They're like knocking her to the floor. Like this is the fucking 88 Pistons.
Right.
And things that just don't happen to other players. And she's balling out.
Yeah. I see, once again, I see what makes it to like mainstream clip world. And I just felt that momentum shifting in the clips. So
no,
the L goes to the haters. If you're still a hater, I'm not saying you have to think
what's
she's...
there to hate about?
Well, we know.
Other than she's white.
That's it.
But she's growing the game.
You could say, I guess the only reasonable argument, right? I agree. The only reasonable hate you could have towards her is she doesn't deserve the hype she's getting. She deserves a little less, I guess.
Yeah, and there's like former players, they all hate on her.
Right.
Cheryl Swoops, she looks like a clown.
Yeah, it just doesn't, it's not going to age well. It's also, I just think in the long-term judgment of like race discriminating or topics about race or racism, I don't think these things age well.
It's also silly because you have the WNBA and the counterparty is the NBA, which is the men's league, obviously.
Right.
Like Kobe was praising Luka Doncic.
Right.
As a white guy, like this guy is the truth.
Right.
He wasn't hating on him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all the former players in the NBA give the young guys their flowers.
Yeah. She's going to get her flower. It's just not going to age well. It's just a thing that caught fire and people jumped on the wrong side, a lot of them. And I think in a few years, it's going to be blown over. She'll be respected. The next little white girl that balls out, they won't even care. You know, like it just, I don't know.
Yeah, it's silly.
Yep.
It's hurting their own cause. That's the problem. That's what's stupid about it. It's so like dumb. Former female basketball players hurting their own league.
Yeah, it's so stupid. Okay, what's your content recommendation for the weekend? Anything?
There's no question. The Shield is back.
I know.
Chiefs, Ravens Thursday, Packers, Eagles in Brazil Friday. It's just nonstop.
Yeah, I'm going to watch tomorrow. I just have to. I have to be a part of this.
Yeah, you should wear a USA hat.
Yeah.
Take a post.
Right. Plus, I want to see what happens in the Taylor, script. Maybe there's a big reveal tomorrow.
She has to be there.
You'd think. Or maybe, I don't know what the script says. Maybe this is where the rumors, maybe she starts distancing herself because they have a breakup coming up.
That would be a bad look if she doesn't show up because I don't think she has dates right now until October.
Well, especially after these shenanigans. Okay, definitely football. Mine, look, I want to be honest here. It wasn't that great, but I did listen to the Trump Lex Friedman podcast.
I started it. I didn't finish it.
So look, I want to be honest. It's not that it was that great, but it was only an hour. And some interesting observations are, number one, props to Lex Friedman because he did ask some very hard questions. Now, Trump dodged them, but essentially like he brought up like, I think you're at your best when you're talking about a vision for the future and optimism, not when you go back into these like name calling and whatever. Like he said this stuff to him and you could tell he was like a little nervous. Trump sort of dodged them all. It's not like you got some look into Trump's soul, but I would say for an hour, Trump also was very like much less rambly than I've heard. And it's just interesting. I think Lex is such an interesting guy and podcaster and his take on things. And I think it's worth listening to.
How did Lex get so big? Because he's so dry.
Yeah.
It's a tough listen.
It is. He just became, he built some momentum and then he's in like the Rogan circle. He's friends with Elon. I think he worked with Elon at some point. Like I think he was friends with Elon before the podcasting career. So he was able to get him as a guest, like when, probably earlier than any other podcaster could have. And I think people have just started to kind of like him. They almost like his dryness as like, oh, that's just Lex being Lex. If you're part of the Rogan, because Rogan tells stories about him and, I mean,
he's obviously one of the bigger podcasts around.
Right.
And he has some of the most famous people in the world. And I always tune out.
Yeah, it's tough. But this one was only an hour, and I will tell you, there's a little tidbit for our bet. You know, we have a bet on taking each other to dinner if Trump does Rogan's podcast or not. And Lex asked him if he is going to do it, and essentially he said, "I don't know. I would do it, but I'm not going to ask him, and he hasn't asked me."
So that's a lie. Because Rogan said numerous times on his podcast that he's been approached to have Trump, and he said, no, I don't want to support that guy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure Trump doesn't want to admit.
And I don't think Rogan would lie about that.
Right. And I don't think Trump would say like, well, I don't know. I've asked a few times and he hasn't responded to me.
Yeah, he wouldn't say that. But
right.
It's clearly a lie.
Right. So, you know, I don't know. I don't know what that says for our bet.
The only thing is if we have a Trump presidency, if he releases the Epstein files, which he said he would on the Lex Friedman podcast.
I mean, I got to say, most people's like I don't know how to say this. Maybe the things that they're interested in are so low that he probably gained a block of voters just that want to see that list.
I mean, don't we know the list?
I think we do, but I mean, we really only know like 6 people.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had that island for years and there was parties and there was like, there has to be, you know, I just think we probably know the best ones.
Yeah. There's probably like business people that we have never even heard of that are.
Right. I mean, if you have Bill Clinton, Bill Gates, and fucking Prince Andrew or whatever prince that was, I mean, it's hard to top that.
The Apollo founder, Leon Black.
Right. It's hard to get much better than that as far as blockbuster.
Yep.
Anyway, okay, that's all we got. We have some shout outs.
We do.
Shout out from Alejandro. I wanted to shout out my brother Christian for entering year 3 of college at Texas A&M. I know this is going to be your hardest semester in your construction science degree, but you've been crushing it thus far, and I know you'll do the same moving forward. Love, Alejandro. Oh, P.S. Nice. Drama. Your golf content has me wanting to play again, but I don't have any clubs. We'll gladly take any extra clubs or gear companies send you that you don't use. I'll pay for shipping. We're about the same height. Thank you for offering. But believe it or not, I don't have any. I use it all, or I deny it. I have been asked to give free clubs from a couple of people that I knew I just wouldn't use it, and I said no. Okay, from Jared. Shout out to Drama. If he would check his DMs, he would break 85 consistently. Been giving him free swing tips for the past year from a PGA professional. Hasn't looked at one. Oh, shit.
Is Jared the PGA professional?
It looks like. I mean, that's what he's alluding to, unless he's transcribing somebody else's messages. Okay, Jared, I'll take a look. Thank you.
Look now. Let's see if he's a real
I don't have it
PGA
on my.
professional.
It's on my other phone. I don't have it on this phone. Okay, from Joel. I land in LA today and honestly have no plans for the next few days. I'll be out in Malibu and was wondering if there's anything going on or anything I should check out while I'm here.
Go to Nobu Malibu. That's a no-brainer.
No-brainer. Nobu Malibu. Get a bulletproof vest if you come east.
The Country Mart. A lot of good little restaurants there.
You can spend 3 days. If you're in Malibu and you're planning to stay in that area, just hang out there. Go to Nobu Malibu. Go to all the Nobu, little restaurants and hangouts. You can easily burn 3 days.
Cafe Habana.
But no, I don't think there's any special
I don't know any other things. Because the Malibu chili cook-off was this last weekend. If he was here... That was a big thing. I saw a lot of friends post from there.
Well, you could always, years ago we had a thing called the Melrose Challenge where you go buy a Rolex and you try to walk down Melrose from La Cienega to La Brea. Try that. But no, it's going to be like 100 degrees.
I don't think you make it. No. Do we would we be
liable?
Accused of like?
Right. I don't know. But it's going to be 100 degrees, Joel. So I would recommend stay by the beach. You already found the right spot. And just soak up Malibu life.
Someone told me it was 116 degrees in Van Nuys today. that right?
I heard that too. It was 107 on Sunday, so
I wouldn't doubt
That's
it.
crazy.
I mean, I go to the gym I go to is in essentially North Hollywood. And like the moment you get behind that hill right there, it jumps 10 degrees easy.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Okay. That's all we got. Everyone have a great rest of your week. Finish strong, and we will be back. Is D back on Sunday?
Yeah, he should be back tomorrow.
Oh, nice. Okay. All right. We'll be back on Sunday. Thank you all for listening. And goodbye.
Peace.